The Olympics have always been a stage for showcasing human excellence in sports. This year's Summer Games, held in Paris, will take that to a whole new level. Approximately 10,500 athletes from around the world are participating in the Games and showcasing their best to try and make it to that podium. More specifically, however, technology and artificial intelligence are playing increasingly pivotal roles in enhancing the experience for everyone involved. By integrating AI into various aspects of the Olympics, the event is hoped to become more efficient, engaging, and inclusive. We're about to take a deep dive, no Olympic swimming pun intended, into how AI makes its presence felt during the Paris Games. This is Business Extra from The National, and I'm your host, Cody Combs. Today we have a special episode focusing on the ongoing Paris 2024 Olympics. Intel is introducing groundbreaking AI innovations designed to revolutionize how fans, organizers, and athletes interact with the Games. And to know more about this, I'm joined now by Sarah Vickers, who is the head of Intel's Olympic and Paralympic programs for Paris in 2024. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So Intel Inside, the company that makes millions of chips that make all those Windows and PCs computers compute, it's at the Olympic Games. What's it doing there?
We're doing a variety of things. We're really excited because we're using this as an opportunity to show the world how Intel's AI platforms can transform all aspects when it comes to technology. So, from the traditional PC, which we have a role, but to changing the viewer experience on TV, to changing and helping how operations are run, we really are demonstrating AI everywhere.
Can you give us a brief overview of Intel's involvement? You say Intel is in fact everywhere, and I don't doubt that. But I was watching several different things Intel was talking about, and I think before the Olympics, Intel was working with Senegal to some extent?
Correct. So we work closely with the International Olympic Committee to help the Senegalese National Olympic Committee identify talent. So we have been working very closely with some partners on using AI and using computer vision to identify characteristics that identify talent. So really what we've been trying to help them do is identify that next Olympian. And by using a very simple application on the ground, but we were able to send a team to Senegal and test 1,000 different children around the country, so not just in one location, through a mobile device, and test them and identify the potential in an athlete. And what that did is it really had an opportunity, and we identified a number of high potential. And now the Senegalese National Olympic Committee is thinking about, okay, how do we use that and how do we help and identify athletes that maybe wouldn't have been found before?
What was the Senegalese reaction to that? When you talk about this technology, it's one thing, but to actually see it, it's quite humbling.
It is, and I think we worked with athletes that were identified in traditional ways, I guess is how you would say that, and they were just saying what they would have loved is having this when they were younger, just to expose more people, maybe get more people involved. What we found is it really got people excited because it really gave them something to try and test that never been done before. They loved interacting with the technology, but they also loved just showing their best and having that opportunity to show that to the world.
So you spoke a little bit about excitement, and that dovetails into my next question. Excitement goes hand in hand with fans and the fans who will be in attendance at the Olympic Games in Paris. How is Intel looking to use AI to sort of ratchet up some of that fandom?
Sure. So one of the fun experiences that we have is at Stade de France, which is hosting both athletics and rugby. And we have an interactive experience for all of those fans to find the athlete within them. And what that experience does is it enables all of the fans to have a fun experience, but then use AI to identify what Olympic sport they are most closely aligned with. So it's just a really fun way to demonstrate really simple ways of applying AI in a really fun outcome. A couple of other examples that we're doing is on the fan experience and just trying to help the IOC make things easier and better for the fans by helping understand how people are moving about, how the crowds are and things like that. So from a fan experience, it's a little less obvious. It's not necessarily a fun interactive experience, but hopefully it makes their experience on getting around a lot easier.
There's also the sheer number of media organizations that are going to be at the Olympics covering the Olympic Games. And just for this podcast alone, we're always talking about the most efficient ways to slice and dice clips, to promote various clips. You know, should we do video for this clip? Should we just stick to audio for this? Which platform it should go on? You have something called automatic highlights generation. And that is really intriguing. And I think the end users are going to be excited about it, but they might not realize how revolutionary it is. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So traditionally, highlights have been done quite manually. So, like you said, it was difficult. There was tagging, there was finding, there was sorting. And with the amount of volume of video and sports that's created by Olympic broadcasting services, creating highlights for everything was simply impossible. So a lot of sports didn't get specialized highlights. A lot of countries wouldn't get specialized highlights. But with AI, a lot of that manual piece is taken out. And so really the number of highlights that are going to be available are endless. What's exciting about that is the sports that maybe didn't get that love before are going to have some really cool highlights. So for the fan at home that maybe loves a specialized sport, they're going to be able to see things in the sport they love. But also if you think about certain countries, certain types of athletes, there's all different ways that this can be sliced and diced. And because of AI, it can be done pretty much instantly.
I'm going to ask you a little bit of an esoteric question. Going back to the days of the scoreboard, the digital scoreboard, or even the digital stopwatch, technology has been used to, enhance human performance and enhance how it's measured. Just how powerful will AI be in terms of ratcheting up that human performance?
I think what we're learning by some of the work that we look at talent identification is athletes are always looking for that 1%. How do they get better by 1%? And the way that AI is going to be able to help athletes understand their performance better, because one, the data can be just crunched so much faster. They can learn things so much more easily. But two, they just have insights that they likely didn't have before. I think that's going to really help in just improving performance. It's not going to, the core doesn't change. The athlete is the core, but how they learn about their performance is absolutely going to help them.
Are you in Paris right now?
I am.
So, what are you going to be doing on the ground there? This is a very ambitious job that you have, but I assume you're one of many people there. What are you tasked with by Intel at these Olympic Games?
Sure. So we have a team here, and what we're really doing is integrating our AI technology solutions in all aspects of the games. So we have a team that's at the International Broadcast Center that's helping with the structure for those AI generated clips that we talked about. We have experiences for athletes to capture themselves in augmented reality that is then also being shared with broadcasters. We are creating a private 5G network that's going to be used for the opening ceremonies to enable that amazing experience that's going to be along the Seine to be broadcast around the world using 5G technologies. We have a number of AI applications like I talked about. So we're really just have people and engineers and teams making that all happen in partnership with the International Olympic Committee and the Paris 2024 Organizing Committee.
And I keep hearing a lot about this Athlete 365 platform. Are you able to extrapolate on that?
Yes, that's a really good example. So I think everyone's getting used to chatbots. And the athlete experience here, we want to make it so that athletes can focus on their performance. And there's a lot of information. The Olympics are incredibly complex. There's a number of sports. It's over 17 days. There's over 10,000 athletes, like you mentioned, getting around, getting fed, making sure you understand what you need to do. All of that used to come in a variety of different ways of information. What we've done is we've taken that information and created a chatbot for athletes so they can ask it conversational questions and get that information at their fingertips and not have to call people, email people, try to find it in a PDF, really trying to make their lives simpler so they can focus on their performance.
Has there been any area where the International Olympic Committee has said, okay, we love what you're doing, Intel, or we love what you're doing, researcher, but hold off a little bit on this because we don't want to sort of taint the purity of the game. So is there anywhere where you guys are not touching because, okay, well, we need to have humans doing human things and this needs to be about athletic performance?
I think what we're learning is the IOC has a really measured approach to artificial intelligence, which I think, they've developed their AI agenda and they have this long-term plan on how they approach it. And they're looking at a number of different ways. So I think there's open-mindedness to figure out where it will work. I think some of the areas where it's more complex, where we're not maybe down the road, we'll have further conversations, is in some of that further analytics of athletic performance. But I do know that they're also talking with other partners that own, timing and scoring about how that can help with judging and things like that. But I think it's going to evolve over time because there's a lot of people you have to get on board with that.
In terms of access, And in terms of excitement, it's important not to overlook the Paralympics and those who might be visually impaired. How is technology and AI going to level the playing field, if you will?
Sure. So we talked about how complicated it is to get around. So imagine that you are visually impaired or hearing impaired or anything else, and getting around is even harder. So one of the really exciting applications that we're doing is with the U.S. Olympic Committee at their training facility. So they have a big training facility just outside of Paris where all of their athletes, Olympians and Paralympians, go ahead of the games to prepare for performance. And we have been working on helping them with a navigation tool, which we're calling wayfinding, which was originally designed to help visually impaired, but that application can be used across many applications. So if you need to use, talked about how complicated, talked about how complicated, talked about how complicated. Talked about how complicated